We were asked to speak about experts, and everyone's well aware of the changes in the rules January of 10. My own view of it is that those rules changed very little. The Form 53 was the most significant change, but all the other rules were really already in existence and hadn't been enforced to any degree at all. I think you'll find from the outset in the last 2 years, last year and a half of cases, that the new rules are being strictly applied. And I think that's if you walk away from anything today from this part of the program, take away the fact that those rules mean something and don't appear in front of a judge or send your lawyer in front of a judge not realizing that at the start. You'll lose badly. Now, that's the end. Let's start at the beginning. Alf, why do you send anybody to an expert in the first place? And what do you want from them?
Well, the first question you got to ask yourself is, do you need an expert? You know, some people retain experts for things that the courts will wonder, well, why is this person here? Remember Mohan, the key case? It's got to be for facts or information that a trier of fact in the ordinary wouldn't understand and needs help with. So I always say, that it's the client and not the lawyer who wins the case, but if it's second after the client, it is probably the expert. And I'm sure Keith and I have both had cases where experts have swung it one way or the other. In some cases, and you have to recognize that you need an expert. And to give you an example, in De Janeiro, when the woman fell on the bed, the lawyer in my firm who had that case, and I just took it to trial, never got an expert report as to whether or not that bed was defective. And I went, yikes. Because I only came in at the very end. And as soon as I went into liability, the judge says, Mr. Kwinter, you don't have to spend very much time on that. And I just, because you may need an expert and not realize it. And you don't want to realize it too late.
We're going to play a game called De Janeiro Bingo. Every time Alf mentions the word De Janeiro, you have to drink water, okay?
Get ready.
All right. So on the defense side, the first thing that you want to do is read and cross-examine the plaintiff's reports. Like, what is the plaintiff doctor really saying? Does it really hurt you? At the end of the day, the killer cases that I have, ones that get me really angry, is when I've got a lukewarm report from a plaintiff doctor and I send it out for a defense medical and I get killed by my own doctor. There's always a risk, no matter what, that you're going to get a worse report. So the first thing you ask yourself is, do I need a report at all? What am I responding to? Is the report from the other side on the very issue that's going to be central to the lawsuit? If it's not a bad report, I probably won't bother with a defense medical. Okay, I'll try some other way of doing it. One of the things that I think we run into trouble is not with retaining the experts, but what we give them, what we provide them. And a good doctor will write a report back to you that says, I have the following information. If there's other information, my opinion may change. We never read that. I spent time with my juniors saying that's the most important part of the report, because it's grist for cross-examination later. Okay? So what do you give them? Alf, what do you give your experts?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Because as Keith says, there's no better way to cross-examine an expert than to say, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? Even if it's irrelevant stuff, every time the expert says, no, I haven't got that, somehow that opinion diminishes a little bit in the trier of fact size, no matter how irrelevant it is. Make sure your expert has absolutely everything.
One of the things that I thought was always available to a cross-examining lawyer was access to the doctor's file. So when I would cross-examine an expert, the first thing I would ask was, I'd like to see the file. Can I have it over a break to look at by myself? Most doctors were sort of like, you go like this to get the file away from them, and in a couple of instances I've had judges order that they surrender the file. It's a great place to find out what the plaintiff lawyer wanted right from the very beginning. You look at the initial letter. Find out what's in there. Find out what the lawyer said. You may find as I did in one case, a letter back questioning the doctor's opinion, which was quite helpful in cross-examination because I wasn't sure whether it was the doctor's opinion still or the lawyer's opinion that formed the final part of it. You may also find, as I did in one case, I took the doctor in a judge alone case. I said, turn to page 14 of your report. And the judge looked down and said, Mr. Smockum, it's only 10 pages. I said, well, your copy's 10 and my copy's 10, but the plaintiff's is 16. So you go, wow, where did that come from? Harvey Spiegel goes around all these things and talks about this all the time, about going after the files. I had another doctor who told me that he would do 13 independent medicals a day, that he would take no notes, and at the end of the day, he would write 13 reports. And you may find that hard to believe. I did. The judge did. And finally, after court ordered it, the doctor's secretary found the files and had him carried down to court. And there was his file. And it was clearly, his evidence was done at that point. So very important to know what to give. The other problem we ran into is my opinion letters, my retaining letters used to be very long. They'd be at 15, 20 pages. I'd summarize the entire case as I saw it from my doctors. My letter now is about 4 lines. Just says, here's the appointment, here's a list of every document, any document you do not have that you need, you tell me, I'll get it for you.
That's because he's had a 2-hour conversation with the doctor on the phone. But he's not telling you about that, but that's okay. But remember those letters of instruction. In fact, in a case, I don't want to mention the name.
De Gennaro?
Oh, matter. When I asked for the defense doctor's file, it actually had a letter from defense counsel saying, thank you for agreeing to act on behalf of the defense. That was actually how it started. I don't think he intended to say that. But nothing can kill you more than to find on cross-examination a doctor's file having a draft report with corrections all over it. You say to the doctor, well, whose writing is that? He says, well, that's plaintiff's counsel's writing. That can really hurt. Anything you communicate with your doctor, that's going into his file or her file. That file is going to be opened at trial. So you got to watch those letters of instruction. Watch out for draft reports, because there's case law now that says draft reports are producible. And, you know, anything that's in writing, you got to, how is this going to look if it's in a courtroom? Has your letter of instruction in any way influenced that doctor's opinion or that expert's opinion? Because if it has, it's going to taint the opinion. Be very, very careful about that.
The other thing I do, and I made a habit of in the last few years, is I'll have a doctor call me and say, my report's finished, I'd like to discuss it with you. And I always, because I'm never in the office, my secretary takes the call, and she has standing orders to tell the doctor, send on the report, then Mr. Smockum will call you. I don't speak to doctors before the reports are done. I think it's a tragic mistake for the same reason that Alf just pointed out. There will be a note of that conversation somewhere, or if good counsel will ask in cross, did you ever speak to the lawyer who's paying you today? And the response is, yeah. Why?